Hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. This afternoon we got a lot going on. I made laundry soap today. I've cooked Sage's dog food for the week. I've got dehydrating going on. I've done some gardening. I went shopping, and now I'm gonna bake some bread in the solar oven. And so I really wanted you to come along for this because I'm gonna do it kind of a artisan style loaf in my actual pans that came with the solar oven. And because we have a bolognese sauce on the stove today, I did want to make it a little Italian version, so it's going to have a little twist to the bread, but I thought I'd bring you along for the ride, and I hope it inspires you to stay with me. Don't forget, I just started a Facebook page for Linda's Pantry, so you can go like my page, get all the latest without missing out on YouTube if you'd like. I'll post recipes in the future that you wouldn't normally see or get in a written form. So hope it brings you to my page. Anyway, I truly hope you stay with me for this because it's going to be fun and going to be delicious. And I'll show you how to brown bread in a solar oven. All right, guys. And what I've got my yeast. I keep this yeast in the freezer, but yeast actually lasts a long time. I store quite a bit of it, and you want to make sure that your water is warm but not too hot where it's going to kill the yeast. And I love a very yeasty bread, so I'm going to put about 2.5 teaspoons down for this loaf of bread. And we are going to stir that around. And we're going to do what's called letting the yeast bloom. All those little granules of yeast will open up and bloom, and this will kind of become frothy. And I like to either give it a pinch of flour or a pinch of sugar. In this case, I'm going to do a pinch of raw sugar and over the top. It just gets it woke up and something to feed on because it's a live organism. So now what I'm going to do is in my mixing bowl, I'm going to put down, I've got some King Arthur all-purpose flour. So I want a couple of cups down in there. We'll start with 2 cups and we'll go from there. I do want some salt in here. About a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm also going to put down a teaspoon of herbes de Provence, maybe. And that's just going to add an herbaceous little zing in the bread. This is going for an Italian type dish, so I also want a heaping teaspoon of my homemade garlic powder. And now we need some olive oil. So I'm going to put down probably 2 tablespoons of garlic infused olive oil. Doesn't that sound good already? And then I've got, some grated Parmesan Reggiano. Love Parmesan. And we're only going to use, I would say, 3/4 cup. Okay, that's plenty. It just gives it that salty little bite that we're going to want somewhere in the bread. So I'm going to, ooh, it's already blooming. It's awesome. I'm going to give this a few minutes to really bloom, and then we'll get mixing, and I'll bring you back when we're a little closer because you guys need to be a little closer now. I'll be right back. All right, now the yeast, you can see that top little layer of foam on the measuring cup. That's when you know it's bloomed and it's ready to get into the mix. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to lock my mixer in place, start the mixing process and pour that in. I do like to throw in some dough enhancer just because it makes for a really soft dough, and I just really like it. So I'm going to actually add that in right now. Unlock the mixer, Linda. And that's part of the dry ingredients. About 2 tablespoons of that dough enhancer. I'm using up the rest of that pan that I have. And there you go. Lock that in place again. And depending on the humidity, depending on what area you're in, all that is dependent upon how dry your dough is going to be. So this dough looks like it's a little bit dry to me. So I'm going to add in some buttermilk. Just drizzle that in and see what's going on. Okay, looking good. I want it to pick up all the flour, and once it's picked up all the flour, then we're going to start the kneading process. All right, I'm going to start kneading this dough. I'm going to knead it until I can actually make sure that all the glutens are activated and I get a nice elastic dough that you can pull apart and stretch, and those gluten strands will stay together and not break apart. And so that's usually about 10 minutes in the mixer. I'll bring you back when I'm a little further along. Now I've got the dough a little bit too wet, so I'm going to add a little bit of flour. But I'm glad I put that buttermilk in there. That'll add an extra layer of flavor and be delicious. Be right back. Okay, so we are done. This has been kneading for about 10 minutes. And what you want is a dough that doesn't stick to you when you're working with it. It's not sticking to the mixing bowl. The mixing bowl's clean. And it's not sticking to you. Perfect. So I've lined this pan. This is one of my pans for the solar oven. There's some parchment, and I'm just trimming off the excess here. I'm going to put that down. And I'm not going to... Ooh, yum. Boy, let's get that. Get that hook off there. And turn this dough out. And you can see this is just a beautiful, wonderfully pliable bread dough. You don't really have to have an exact recipe. Bread is so forgiving. I can't even tell you, it's just a wonderful means of making anything that you want to make. So now we're gonna just put some olive oil down and rub it over the top so it doesn't dry out while it's doing its first rise. And I'm not gonna struggle to find a warm place for this because it's hot outside. So I'm gonna put this in a warm place and let it rise. We'll see how long that takes, and we'll get it in the solar oven. All right, you guys. Get my hands all cleaned up, and I'll bring you back. Let's see how that looks. Doesn't that look pretty? Okay, so it's now about 250 in the solar cooker. I have over here, I have Sage's dog food. Ooh, wind, sorry. And down here, I have my bread. It's almost all the way risen, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in. It's 4:30. I'm going to make sure that we get dinner on time, and this might take an hour. So we're going to put this in right now. hopefully, I'm not going to put a lid on it, but what I am going to do to ensure, even though it's got that olive oil, you think, oh, that'll brown it, I'm going to spray it down with some water. Just take a squirt bottle, spray it down with some water, and it'll brown off better. So I wish we would have done this earlier in the day and I could have gotten 2 rises out of this bread, but I think it'll be just fine. I don't want it to rise up till it touches the top of the solar oven. So I'll show you a picture of the bread in the oven here in a second. All right, guys. I don't know how good you can see this because it actually steamed it up pretty good. Just the moisture from the bread and me sprouting it down. So what I did was down here where your hinges are is I put the hinge up underneath the lid. And so it allows some evaporation out. And hopefully it won't block the sun. I know it's still going to be fine because I've done this, but it's all good. I just wanted you to see that and maybe get a little extra knowledge. And looks like I need to rinse this off again. We've had all kinds of weird weather and dust and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, okay guys, the end result of this beautiful bread. And I only rose it once, and then I didn't even punch it down or push it down or anything, and I put it in the solar oven. And so when I moved it, it sank in the middle, but I don't really care. Look at how beautiful that is. I've already cut off a slice, and the guys have tasted it, and it's amazing. So it's cooled down enough that I can, you know, slice it up. And sorry I'm a lefty, but I'm gonna have to do it this way. So it's got the cheese and the spices and everything that you would want in there. And truly, that bread is delicious. Okay, we'll just give you a big close-up of that. And know that that is just, I mean, it's just a really nice spongy bread. So it's very forgiving. You didn't have to wait for a second rise. You didn't have to do anything special. I mean, it's so forgiving that, what do? You just have to put some butter on it, say, And I have some bolognese and some pasta over here on the stove that we're gonna actually have this with, but I wanted to give you a taste test. And really let you see how wonderful that bread is. Look at that crumb. It's really airy and soft. And the outside has a little crust to it, even on the bottom. Wow, this is delicious. It's not. Wow, I could eat that for dinner. I'm kind of a bread. I love bread, so this is something that would really appeal to me. So you can see that you've got a brown crust on the top and the bottom, and it really does. It's really a crust. It's a thin crust, but man, and then the inside is just that chewy, delicious, moist. Aromatic. Get into some pasta sauce kind of bread. So I hope this inspires you to wait until I'm finished. Ah. Wow. It's so good. There's my dinner. I truly hope it inspires you to stay along for the ride, because we've got lots more where this came from, and this was just a wonderful, easy recipe, easy to do, didn't cost me a dime to have it cook, and we get to have it tonight with some pasta.